So, Moby Dick is a book that you've undoubtedly heard of. It's by Herman Melville. And I had you watch a little fun video about Melville's biography. As you know, he traveled the world. He drew on his own real experience as a whaling hunter. So, Moby Dick is rife with incredible details and accuracies about the life of a whaler and sort of how difficult this lifestyle was. So if we look at the characters, we have a few main characters, and the one you guys read is a bit abridged. So we have Captain Ahab, who is the tyrannical head of the Pequod. He's the protagonist, but he's driven mad, you could say metaphorically or literally, by his obsession with Moby Dick. And Moby Dick, of course, bit off his leg. Ishmael is the only surviving member of the Pequod's journey. He has the very famous first line, "Call me Ishmael," and he mainly serves as our narrator, so he doesn't have a whole lot of purpose beyond that. Queequeg, is the sort of native South Pacific Islander. So he's the harpooner, which is the very, very dangerous job because that's the one that gets closest to the whale. He's the friend to Ishmael. So the purpose of Queequeg really is to show an emphasis on interracial friendship and democracy as well. And he has sort of mystic elements about him, but he believes heavily in the concept of fate. And at the end, he casts these ruins, and it says that he's going to die. So what he does is he builds a coffin, and he lays there and waits for death because that's what fate has said. And it's surprisingly, this is what actually saves Ishmael in the water. And then Captain Starbuck is the chief mate. He respects the power of the sea and Moby Dick, but he's unable to resist sort of the draw of Ahab's madness and his obsession with Moby Dick. Captain Boomer, he is the parallel to Ahab, so he lost his arm to Moby Dick, but he is not out for revenge in the same way as Ahab is. He's rather content with his life. Stubb is the second mate. He trusts in fate. He's relatively carefree, so he's really a parallel, if you want, against Queequeg. And then Moby Dick, of course, is the great white whale. Forgive me, I spelled whale wrong, but he's the great white whale. He's a sperm whale, and he bit off Ahab's leg, and he's hunted as revenge. And in the end, he takes down the entire Pequod except for Ishmael. So major themes here are the futility of man against nature. So nature is all-powerful. Also, the concept of sort of negative motivation, it only leads to death and destruction. Nature is essentially a place of refuge. It's not a place of violence, which is very interesting coming from a man who was a whaler. And the difficulty of seeing and understanding. So Ahab sees, but he doesn't understand. Literally, he sees Moby Dick, or he doesn't see him coming at the very end. There's also concepts of interracial friendship and dependency. So we touch on slavery. We talk about Pip. Melville never comes out and speaks against slavery, but he does touch on issues of it, and we are very sympathetic towards Pip and Queequeg and other characters from these islands. So there is something Melville's saying here about interracial friendships and multiculturalism. And we also look at the dangers of having this singular obsession, the white whale. And then, of course, we have this very interesting tie to masculinity. This is an all-masculine, all-male cast of characters. If we compare this to Scarlet Letter, Hawthorne and Melville were very good friends. It's an interesting contrast to kind of make. So romantic elements that we have again, nature as all-powerful. We also have animals as representing sort of a larger power. They're protected almost. We do have the sublime, but here it's not sublime of the mountains or the trees or the forests. It's sublime of the ocean, of the endless majesty and destructive power of nature. We have elements of mysticism as well as a belief in fate, so the fertility of fighting against it. And again, we have the focus on the individual as well. And then death as the ultimate end, and whether or not you should fight it or accept it. There's also the focus on madness. So Ahab and Boomer, again, are foils to one another. So Ahab goes mad, Boomer doesn't. But it doesn't matter because it costs both of them their lives. Starbuck, he does have a chance to prohibit it by killing Ahab, but he struggles with issues of morality and fate in choosing not to kill Ahab. So In choosing not to kill him, he actually dooms everyone else. So the question is, was that a moral choice or not? And then we have these issues of religion, multiculturalism, and fate. So Queequeg represents this sort of mysticism of these island religions. He believes, again, heavily in fate and that you cannot resist it, even if you tried, but he wouldn't try. He also relies on these mystic elements, so the casting of the ruins, for example. But if you examine this, his pagan beliefs is what, his quote-unquote pagan, forgive me, beliefs are what leads him to build the coffin, and the coffin is what actually saves Ishmael. So if we think about this, what is Melville saying about religion on the whole? And it could be argued that maybe he's saying religion and divine forces are really beyond, a singular strain like Methodist or Christian or Puritan or any of that, or even pagan. But rather it's more of a force overall, a divine force. And remember that Romanticism doesn't really identify God or Christianity, but rather a sense of divinity in the sublime. So that would be how Queequeg sort of fits into this concept of divinity, Christianity, fate, all these things together. And in conclusion, if we think about Ahab's madness, of course, it drives everyone to death except for Ishmael. And he doesn't get his revenge on Moby Dick. And in fact, it's Moby Dick himself who denies Ahab that pleasure. So the ultimate message is that you cannot overpower nature or fight your fate. And Moby Dick, of course, the white whale, it's become a very common saying nowadays. If you said, oh, that's my white whale, that means it's sort of this insurmountable obstacle that is in your life that you cannot overcome. So that's Moby Dick. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You have one more small thing to do this week, and then you're going to move on to the next week. And the next week you will have a wrap-up quiz, so be prepared for that. And then you'll start your paper.